If you're wondering which map you should use to start your first city in Cities Skylines 2, let me show you what you can pick. In the standard version of the game you have 10 maps to choose from. Let's start from the beginning. Archipelago Heaven has one of the warmest climates, but also it is rainy at the same time. This map seems to be the option for those who plan to build smaller cities spread on the islands. The map is mostly covered with water and it has only 16% of buildable area. This is a very low number, in fact it is the lowest out of all maps. However, it has 2 exits out of the highway, so it is a good way to start your city where you can separate 2 areas. For example, one for industry and one for living. The Barrier Island is a pretty good map to build your first city. It has an interesting starting point with a small island and an already existing road, so you can work around it from the beginning. This is also a spot with a fertile land, so it has a potential for some farms straight away. If you decide to buy more land, you also have a pretty big forest. The main island itself is really big and you can also go the other side where you can find even more forest. I guess the only drawback is that the background is quite flat compared to other maps. Great Highlands is another great map to start. It has 2 separate entrances, a large forest nearby and enough land to go crazy with your city planning. The playable area is also huge, not much is taken by water, and compared to the previous map, the background is much more interesting. We can for instance build smaller villages towards the mountains and the main big city near the water. Legand has the second highest buildable area, but it is missing ship connection from the outside. So if you are already thinking about building ports for tourists, I believe this is not a good option for you. However, right from the start we have a small grid that we can expand immediately. The map offers 2 natural resources from the start, ores and the fertile land. I believe this map has a potential for a nice city due to the terrain with lots of lakes. Mountain Village is definitely the most spectacular looking map. However, just like Lakeland, it doesn't have ship connection. We start with a roundabout and lots of trees. We also immediately have access to railways if we decide to work around it. Furthermore, huge spot of oil deposit and a bit of fertile land here and there. The city that can be built here might not be the biggest, but it will surely look stunning among these mountains. Then we have River Delta, a war map with lots of buildable area, and we have access to every outside connection. In this map we also start with a small grid like in Lakeland, however in this case it is not that close to the highway, so later into the game we can easily rebuild the highway exits if needed. We have a nice wide forest and a lot of small islands nearby. They can be, for example, used to build tourist attractions. We can build next to the coastline or we can build closer to the mountains and the river. Overall, a really flexible map with lots of possibilities. Sweeping Plains is quite similar to Mountain Village, but in this case we also have access to the ocean, which is great. Right from the start we have access to a narrow river, but also more than enough land. The scenery is truly beautiful, on the one side mountains and on the other the ocean. If you don't like to be surrounded with mountains, then you will prefer this one over the Mountain Village. I can see here a huge city with skyscrapers. You can try to build beaches and a port. It's simply another good looking map with a great potential. Twin Mountain is the only map which doesn't have railway connection from the outside. The climate is rather cold, but more than enough space to build. To be honest, I believe this is the worst map to play on. While you have lots of space from the start, 2 entrances, 2 mountains and the ocean, this view over here kind of ruins it for me. This green plain land in the background does not look too convincing, and I find the mountains not too great either. This seems to be an alternative to Sweeping Plains, but with the space between the mountains, and then again, they're not too high, so they don't look that impressive. Waterway Pass is the most buildable map in terms of the available area. However, the irony is that there is this river going through the middle of the starting tiles. The map definitely allows us to plan our gameplay in various ways, and we can potentially build a beautiful city split between rivers. There are huge spots of natural resources spread across the map, but unfortunately you can't buy the land next to the river mouth. And finally, Windy Fjords, a not too hot place with small percentage of buildable area. It has unusual starting roads, which will probably need an upgrade later into the game due to the potential traffic. At the start we also have a small access to water, but it should be enough. There's also a small hill / mountain in the corner, enormous forest going next to the highway, and a double railway going through it. The starting tiles have a quite big fertile land, so we can make a nice use of it. Now, which one is the best to begin your first city in Cities Skylines 2? My top 3 picks are River Delta, Sweeping Plains and Great Highlands. Obviously, you might like a different map than me, and after all, you can go with any map you want. I choose River Delta to be the best beginner friendly due to its starting entrance to the city, which, as I said, is a good basis to learning how to handle the traffic, where you will probably need to make some changes, and you have plenty of room to do that. You've got pretty much everything you need here, and the climate is warm for the most part of the year. Let me know in the comments what do you think about this video, leave a like and subscribe to my channel, and see you in my next videos. Bye!